Hello, everybody. Welcome to the final micro lecture on pricing. We're going to call it pricing considerations because there's a lot more that goes into pricing than what we talked about in the previous micro lectures. Um, all along we have to be very conscious of, are we making money or not? So the profit is, as we well know, is revenue minus expense. And revenue is the price per times the quantity sold. So to maximize profits, we're trying to find a price that any further increase would lead to a large fall off in the quantity sold. It's called profit maximization, where our marginal revenue equals our marginal cost. That is the basic kind of decision made, particularly if you're selling lots of different types of products. And you have to make some generalized rule-based pricing decisions, and I've had to do those in my past. Um, you know, we take a look at these types of things and constantly analyze and see what's where that optimal price is. There's also biases in pricing, so no pricing model that we come up with is ever going to be completely perfect. Every model has some error, and there are systematic biases in pricing that have to do with not just how we think about how to price it, but how the consumer perceives the prices that we're charging. So, price serves as a quality cue. The higher the price, may be more appealing. Um, you just have to look very carefully at what how customers, again, how sensitive they are to your product and the value that it brings them. So when you think about these types of number, it's just kind of interesting that we look at things so differently. When we hear something's $15 off, well, it matters a lot whether or not whether the item's $199 or $49. Um, a relative description of the price is stating its percent, and we use percentages a lot in pricing as well. Usually relating to a discount. So the larger the discount, the greater the value of it is, okay, to the consumer. Um, and then there's also how we set the price up itself. So if we could say charge $499 for a trip, which is the exact same amount of revenue we would get if we charge $599, but give people a $100 discount at booking to get them to order it, or book it that day. So again, it's from a value standpoint to the firm, it doesn't really matter, but as you can see, we're setting it up to create a bias and the pricing, and do something to increase the demand. Temporary price discounts quite often make customers think they're real smart shoppers. We used the example of Kohl's before. Kohl's constantly has sales promotions going on where they're discounting things. In fact, if you pay a regular price for something, you feel like, oh, why would I do that? Just wait a week; it's going to go on sale. So we learn to shop and look for those discounts. Um, there's a psychological pricing that we associate with making prices end with 99 cents. And I can tell you, though, however, from real examples, that how you price these things really matters a lot. Price points matter. So I'm going to use a really strange example, but I suppose it's a very specific one, but it had to do with the personal paper shredders. And this was way before. You can find them anywhere now. You can get them at any department store or whatever. But back in the good old days, there weren't paper shredders. Were heavy duty office equipment, and personal paper shredders. I always thought there was a huge market for it, but brought one in, and we were importing it from Germany, and it was a good product and everything, but I had to sell for $150. That was still considerably lower than what people than if you bought even the smallest regular use paper shredders in the hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So it's definitely cheaper, but I always thought there was a good market for the personal paper shredder. So we did some things to try to work the cost down and accepted some margin hits. And I said, let's get the price point below $100. We sold it at $99.99, and it sold. I think the volume increased by 25 times just because it went under $100. incredible but true. And so it just goes to show you that there are certain biases and price points, and even on what the demand's going to be for an item. Um, uh, People pay less attention to uh, we all categorize in budget purchases, but we pay less attention to what future prices are. So vacation money is different than food money, for example, when we think about what we're, how we spend money when we go on vacation. Um, we a lot of times we do a compromise thing when we go and look at three different alternatives and say, like, well, gee, I'm not really sure I want to spend the lowest amount because I don't really know the quality of that item. I don't want to spend the most because I don't think I'm getting the right value for my money. So I pick the one in the middle. And it's just a natural thing for people to do. Reference pricing refers to when people somehow have a sense of what the price of the item should be. So maybe it's given to them. For example, the manufacturer suggested retail price is $49.99. Now it's available for $35.99. So you feel like, oh, well, there you go. I'm getting a deal. Our price $34.99 compared to others who sell for $45. So that's a reference pricing to say, like, okay, here you're getting the good deal. And then there's certain items that we all pretty much know what we pay for. If you do the grocery shopping in your house, you have not every single item you buy, but there's a group of items that you have a pretty good idea what you should be paying for that item. And that's internal reference pricing. So it's like, I know I shouldn't spend more than $2.99 per gallon of milk, for example. So I know the price that I'm looking at is relative to what I expect to pay for that item. In the United States, we have definite rules and laws around price discrimination. For example, you can't put things on sale all the time and call it on sale because that's a regular price. And I've gotten called to the carpet on that a few times myself, and so I had to fix it. So, but yeah, the amount of time that an item's on sale, you literally can't use the word sale anymore. And that's based on some pretty stringent state laws in certain states like New York and California. And then one of the things you have to be very careful about is channel differentiation. So, and I'm going to use a real example here, but we've probably all had the experience of recognizing that buying an item from the same retailer online might go at a different price than buying it in one of their stores. And that always seems a little off base to me, and I always thought channel consistency was really, really important to be able to do that. And you certainly don't want to have that. Walmart, I mean, the very early days of e-commerce at Walmart, actually, you had to go to the service counter to have them honor their online price in the store, and they had to fill out forms there. It was a ridiculous process. You're generally saving $1 or something. It's like you want to go through all that just to do that. So it kind of leaves a bad taste in the consumer's mouth, and you have to be really careful about how you want to have some channel consistencies, and don't make it hard for a customer to get the price that they expect to pay. We also can consider quantity discounts. This is actually commonly done, where we've seen these types of things at grocery stores and say you have to buy a minimum of 4 to get the price. You maybe don't really want 4, but you're going to buy 4 because you're getting the discount. So quantity discounts are a powerful tool, as are yield management types of considerations that we might have. The example we're giving here is like when you go to the matinee version of the movie, you should generally pay a lower price. But think about yield pricing is commonly done, I mean, constantly done, I should say, at hotels, on airlines, any kind of travel types of things like that. They'll adjust the pricing based on what their need to fill the aircraft, as we talked about before. That's an expensive thing to fly around, so you want to make sure you have people in the seats. So that's what yield management is all about. And then where the product is in the life cycle matters in our pricing approach as well. So there's an introductory phase, which a lot of times people do this, use a particular strategy for the introductory phase of the product. We talked about penetration pricing before. As we're seeking market share, we price it intentionally low to encourage people to get out there and try that product, that kind of thing. Usually it's presented with language that says, buy now because this is our introductory offer. It's not going to stay this way. Skimming pricing is one where we realize we have to recover some of the costs that we've had in developing the product and that kind of thing. So when we do that, we intentionally set the price at a very high rate and then potentially lower it to make the product more accessible as we go along. You don't have to do either one of those, but that's, you can see where when the product's just being introduced, that has an effect on how we're going to go about setting the prices. And we have to be real careful because price cuts can really kind of hurt you without kind of giving you any real benefit. It's not that hard to match a price change. Competitors will do that. Okay, so. And then the other thing is the customer you acquire with a low price is not always the best customer. And that's real. So you have to actually give that some serious consideration when you go to make those kinds of pricing decisions. Okay. Ultimately, we have to be very conscious of the value that we're actually offering to the customer. So again, the price closes the value equation as the benefits divided by the cost, and it's very important that you make the right pricing decisions that balance your need for profitability, but also make sure that you have created an appealing offer for your customer. Okay. All right, so that wraps up our pricing, and the next thing we're going to talk about is the final of the 4 Ps, and that is place. If you have any questions about anything related to pricing, certainly let me know, and I'd be happy to answer those. Best of luck.